welcome to my tutorial video for the Everyday Cable Beanie pattern. We are going to do a full walkthrough today for this hat start to finish. So this is a free pattern on Ravelry. I have mine printed out right here. So I highly recommend printing out your own pattern, again, free on my Ravelry page. So you can either go to Ravelry.com and type Everyday Cable Beanie at the top search bar, or go to the Lizzie Knits designer page and you'll see it under all my designs. So here's the pattern. So hopefully you'll have it ready to go and you can follow along. This hat calls for a super bulky weight yarn. We're gonna use Lion Brand Thick and Quick today, and it has some cable knit texture, which I'll also show you how to do. And it's super quick and super cozy, and I love it. Also, it's very stretchy, so let me show you how it fits. Because it's stretchy, it's tight on the brim, it's great for all sorts of adult sizes and men and women. So here we go. Here's the hat we're gonna make today. So get your pattern ready and let's get started. Okay, before we begin, I want to go over some of these topics on page 1. So this is like before you start the pattern, the materials, gauge, measurements, or any abbreviations here. I'll go through this list, but if you are already familiar with how to read a pattern, feel free to skip this part to when we actually cast on. But for now, let's go through this. Okay, we need 70 total yards of super bulky weight yarn, and I am going to use Lion Brand Woolies Thick and Quick. This color is Peanut, and it's this nice little tan color. I think it's pretty. So 70 yards. The skein comes with 106, so we're totally in the clear. We'll have plenty with yarn to spare. Okay, we will also be using 2 sizes of knitting needles, US 13 and US 15. You'll need 2 types of US 15, but for these first 2 here, 13 and 15 with 16-inch cords. So we need circular needles with a 16-inch cord. And generally when you're knitting hats, 16-inch cord is standard. If you're doing larger projects, larger cords. But for hats, 16 inches, and I have one in both. Here's my 13, here's my 15. Okay, put those aside. Also, we'll need a set of double pointed needles in the size 15. And these are going to be used at the very end when we're decreasing the crown of the hat. When we're up here in this part, and when we get less and less stitches and the circumference is smaller and smaller, then we need to switch to double pointed needles, because there won't be enough stitches to go all the way around on the circulars anymore. But when we get to this part at the end, I'll show you how to use these. Okay, next, a cable needle. So I apologize, I don't have an actual cable needle on hand right now. I use an extra double pointed needle to hold my cable stitches. But if you're familiar with cable knitting, sometimes there's a smaller or a plastic needle. It's straight, but then it has like a bump on it, and then the other side's straight too. These all work for the same way. Double pointed needles work just as well. So that's my method of choice. So we'll show that when we get to the cable stitching. Okay, these 2 are optional. Pom-poms are completely optional. Like I put a faux fur on my finished one here, or you can use no pom-pom, whatever you like. Okay, next, stitch marker. This is not optional. You definitely need a stitch marker, because we're going to put this in at the end of each round, slip it, and it's going to tell us when the new round starts. So we'll save that for when we cast on. And lastly, a tapestry needle to weave in ends. I have a nice little wooden one here, but these can be metal, plastic. All work the same as long as the opening is big enough for yarn. So this will be at the very, very end when we're all finished and we cut the yarn, but we need to hide the ends inside the project. All right, so that is materials. Next is gauge. Okay, checking gauge. Some of you may know about gauge already, but if you do not, gauge is a test swatch like this, using the needles that the pattern calls for and the stitching that the gauge directs you to. So this one for mine, I said to do it in stockinette stitch. Here is a little test area of stockinette stitch, which, if you know, stockinette stitch is knit on the front, purl on the back. And we measure Actually, I won't. I already checked my matches. If I were to measure how many stitches across for 4 inches, I get 9. And I did get gauge with this one. And how many stitches tall, I should have 13. So I do, and I have this little ruler. I only measure 4 inches. When you make your gauge swatch, just make sure it's large enough that you'll get to measure 4 inches up horizontally and vertically. So I did get gauge. If you made a gauge swatch and let's say your stitches are too tight, that would mean that you have more stitches than 9 or 13, then try to knit a little looser on this hat. I'll give you a tip. I know gauge is super duper important in a lot of knitting projects, especially like sweaters, or if you're using thinner yarn. But for a hat like this, and I usually say gauge, gauge, gauge all the time. Make sure you test it. But since this hat the yarn is so forgiving, it's so squishy, and the cat is so stretchy, I'm going to say if you're not completely 100% on gauge, I wouldn't sweat it at all. This is a very forgiving project, and if we have any variances in our individual tensions, it really is usually fine. But if you are concerned, I would say definitely make a gauge swatch. If you're not really concerned and you just kind of want to see how it goes, skip the gauge. But you didn't hear that from me. Just kidding. But I'm making exception for this type of project. All right, completed measurements. That's pretty self-explanatory. It's going to be 9.5 inches tall and 16 inches circumference. So technically 8 inches across, but 16 around. And you may think, if you've never read a hat pattern before, you're like, well, that's kind of small. It's not. You want hats to be smaller than the actual circumference of your head. So generally, I try to take 3 to 4 inches of negative ease. Like if you're because this hat's going to stretch when you have it on. Look at that. It stretches, and you don't want a hat that falls off you. That's why we make them a little smaller, and then they stretch when you're wearing them. So roughly 16. And then again, if you have like your hat, I said mine's 8 inches wide. If yours is like 7.5 inches wide or 8.5 inches wide at the end, don't sweat it. Really, this is a stretchy project. Okay, the next part in this little introductory section is the abbreviations. These should also be pretty self-explanatory. The only cast on double pointed needles, we already showed what those are. Knit two stitches together. That takes 2 stitches, and then when you knit them together, you end up with 1 stitch. We're going to be using those for the decrease in the crowns, or decreases in the crown section at the end. Purl, repeat. That's when I'm telling you to work certain portions again, stitches. Okay, these last 2 here, 1/1 LC, 2/1 LC, these are the cable combinations. I'm going to walk you through those when we get to the point, but if you forget which goes in front, which goes behind, which way they're crossing, I have it written out here, and you can always come back to this page and reference how you're supposed to be doing the cable cross. Okay, and then here, my last thing, and then we're gonna start knitting. Modification notes, and this might be, I wouldn't worry about this right now, but this is for the future. If let's say you made a hat and you want to make one, but you want to make one for one of your kids next time, they are adaptable. You can, as the cast on amount, to change the circumference of it, you just have to decrease in multiples of 4. So for instance, when we do get to the next page, the cast on number is 48. If you want a hat that's a little smaller, then you would cast on 44. And vice versa, if you want a hat that's larger, you add on multiples of 4. And then also, if you are trying to make a child's hat or even a baby and you're shrinking their circumference, you're also then going to want to cut out some rows because you don't want it as tall. So down here, if you wish to change the height of your hat, round 6 through 10, and as you get going in this pattern, you'll kind of see what this means, or get a better idea of what I'm talking about. These rounds 6 to 10, those are the chunks that you're going to keep repeating to get the desired height. But you can just think of them as chunks. You can just cut out a whole repeat of it and end your hat early. So that would be how you would shrink the height of it. So then, but for now, let's not worry about this. We're gonna make the pattern according to the instructions that are noted. Okay, so let's get, grab your US 13 needles, and we're gonna go to the next page and cast on. Okay, now we're on to the next page. We are ready to cast on this project. So I have the end of my yarn here, US 13 needles, see mine, US 13, and get your stitch marker ready too. Okay, with US 13 circular needles, cast on 48 stitches and join in the round. Okay, I'm not gonna go super thorough on how to cast on right now. Maybe you already know how to, but if you don't know how to do the cast on, I would suggest pausing and looking up. I have a video called the long tail cast on also on this channel. I will walk through and teach you how to do this cast on that I'm going to show right now. But if you do know how to cast on with the long tail, I like the long tail method, but really there's many methods to do that you can use. You cast on 48 stitches. Okay, so let's get going on that. Start casting on. I did mine real quick. Please feel free to watch that other tutorial on the long tail cast on method. Okay, I'll be right back when I get my 48. All right, so here I am. I just casted on 48 stitches onto my needle. And now the next instruction is to say, and then join in the round. All right, so because we want to make our hat a circle. We don't want to knit flat. I have a trick for joining in the round. So I always cast on one extra stitch than what the pattern calls for. So now I have 48. I'm gonna cast on 49 real quick because we're gonna end up losing a stitch when we join in the round. Okay, so I have 49 stitches, and this join in the round method can work for any of your in the round projects, and just always cast on one extra stitch. Okay, so take your needles and take where your project yarn is coming out of. That one is going to be on the right. And then you have the cast on tail here that we will literally do nothing with until the very end, when we're gonna hide it on the inside of the brim. Okay, so what I wanna do to join in the round, and another helpful hint, if you see I keep pulling my things straight, I wanna make sure that they're not twisted. And by twisted, I mean that this whole thing isn't like wrapped around and then we're joining. I want to make sure, and actually you can lay this flat, I want to make sure these stitches, like the cast on edge is on the bottom here, and we're not twisting the project. See, it's all nice and flat. The cast on edge is at the bottom, so when I bring it together, it will be, all the stitches are in the right direction. Okay, back to joining in the round. You're going to take the first stitch that's on the left needle and slip it onto the right needle. Okay, and then take that first stitch that was on the right needle, not the one you just slipped, the one next to it, where like the tail's coming out of. We're gonna lift that over that stitch that you just put on the right needle. Lift it over it and off the needle, like just let go of it. And now we are joined in the round. It might seem a little loose. You can pull on the tail here or your working yarn, which is the working yarn is the one that's still attached to this skein here. And now we're joined in the round. Easy peasy. And now we are back to 48 stitches. That's why we casted on that one extra. Okay, now next part, add a stitch marker and slip the marker at the beginning of your round until you switch to DPNs at the end. Handy dandy stitch marker, put it on the right needle, and we are ready to begin stitch 1 of the next round. All right, and so now we are ready to start the brim. And it doesn't even though it doesn't have like a brim heading here, rounds 1 through 5 is the brim. And then it says we switch needles, and then that's the rest of the hat. So we're doing 5 rounds of brim, and that's going to just be 1 by 1 knit ribbing that looks like this. That is just 5 rounds right here. And this is for these 5 rounds, that's the only time we're going to use the US 13 needles. For the most of the hat, for the remainder of the hat, we switch to the bigger US 15 needles. But we do that because we like the stitches to be a little tighter when it's on your forehead. So it just helps the fit of the hat better. We always use slightly different size needles for just the brim. All right, so 5 rounds, and it says knit 1, purl 1, and then repeat from the asterisk to the end of the round. So when it's in, it's not parentheses, but like there's asterisk, then the instructions, and then a semicolon, then that is the little combination that you're just gonna keep on repeating until you get to the end of the round. So really it's just 2 stitches that you just keep doing over and over. Knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1. So let's get to it. Knit 1, purl 1. Okay, knit 1, purl 1. Knit 1, purl 1. And you can skip ahead. You know what? I'm gonna skip ahead. Knit 1, purl 1 is not too bad. I'm going to do this for 5 rounds. And just remember, when you get to the end of the round, give that slip marker just 1 movement, slip it from the left needle to the right, and then you start the next round. So count 5 rounds of this, and I will see you in a few minutes, or really quickly, but I'm gonna finish my rounds. Okay, and now I'm just finishing up my 5th round of the brim here. Knit or purl, last 2, knit, purl. Okay, so I've got 5 rounds here of nice stretchy brim ribbing, 1 by 1 ribbing. Okay, so that was 1 through 5. And you know, I'm going to lower my camera a little bit here. There we go, much better. Okay, 1 through 5 is finished, and then it says switch to US 15 circular needles. All right, so for the remainder of the pattern, we're gonna be using these needles. So on the next round, we're gonna knit with this instead and get these US 13 ones out of here, and we're done with them. So moving forward, let's put the stitch marker aside for a minute because we won't need it on the next round just because we're switching needles. Okay, so let's continue with round 6. It's knit 3, purl 1 for the remainder to the end of the round. So this is just worked over 3 stitches. Knit 3, purl 1, knit 3, purl 1, knit 3, purl 1. Just keep going around. Okay, but instead, because I want to add the new size of needles, let's have our new needles be the one going into the stitches this time. Okay, so here. and then that's just kind of like hanging out here because this will then get threaded through. Okay, so let's see, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, purl 1. Okay, and we're gonna start, these US 13 ones are gonna go away and the 15s are gonna start threading through. I'll just work this down. 1, 2, 3, purl 1, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, and purl 1. 1, 2, 3, purl 3, purl, and the needles are starting to change places. We got the 15s in here and the 13s the stitches are coming off the 13s and they're kind of just rolling around the table right now, but that's quite all right. We'll get this sorted out when we get to the end of the round. 3, almost there. Cool. And also, moving forward in this video, if you want to pause at any part so then you can finish your round and then jump back in, feel free, just so we all stay on the same step. And last one, purl. Okay, now then the previous smaller of the 2 needles is totally done. We are finished with these for today. All right, and the US 15 are now in the project and they're ready to go. So we can put our stitch marker back on and we'll proceed as normal. Okay, continuing on in the body of the hat. So I'm gonna sometimes I take a little pencil. We just finished round 6 and this pencil's broken. Awesome. Okay, hold on, get a new pencil. It's a pencil that's not broken. Okay, I will just kind of like check off, I finished round 6. Next one is going to be round 7. All right, this is a cabling round. So I wanna show you how to do this cable combination. This is for this repeated section, 2/1 LC and then purl 1, okay? So then it's 2/1, so that's worked over a total of 3 stitches. It means 2 stitches are going to cross over 1 stitch in a left, and that's for left cross, in a left leaning direction. 2/1 LC, and then you purl 1. So this total combination here is still 4 stitches. If you look, let me show you on my finished hat, the cable crosses. They are 2 stitches, and then there's 1 stitch in the back here, and then they're pointing in the left direction. So these are left cable crosses. Okay, and if you go back to the abbreviation section, 2/1 LC, and FYI, 1/1 LC, you're only going to be using that on 1 round at the decreases. It's just a smaller version of this 2/1. So we won't use the 1/1 LC until much later, or until we get to the end. 2/1 LC, 2/1 left cross. Slip 2 stitches onto a cable needle and drop to the front of your work. Put that back on. Okay. Yeah, we'll just take this one step at a time. Slip 2 stitches onto a cable needle and drop to the front of your work. There's 2 stitches. Remember, this DPN, this is going to be our cable needle. And drop to the front of your work. Knit 1 stitch from the left needle. So we're skipping these 2 right now, and we're going to knit that next stitch on the left needle. Okay. And then knit the 2 stitches from the cable needle. So we'll slide this over and we're gonna knit these off of this needle. All right, that was a 3-stitch combo cable cross, and they are leaning in the left direction. And you know what, next time we get a little bit more progress done on our hat, these will be easier to see. Okay, so that, back to the pattern part. 2/1 LC, we just did that, and now purl 1. Okay, let's do the next. And purl 1. Okay, those were our 4-stitch combo. Now we're gonna do those again. 2/1 LC, purl 1. 2/1 LC, purl 1. Yep, the cables are worked over 3 stitches and then a purl follows. Let's do that one more time, and then I'll show you a trick that I do sometimes. 2/1, you take 2 stitches, drop to the front of your work. Knit the next stitch from the left needle. Okay, and then knit the 2 stitches from the cable needle. 1, 2, and then once those are completed, then we purl 1. One more time. 2/1 LC, 2 onto the cable needle. Knit the next stitch from the left needle, okay, and then knit the 2 stitches from the cable needle. You might have to like shuffle your yarn here because you're just dealing with the 3rd needle and it make it a little tricky, but just make sure your yarn is behind the stitches, behind the needle that you're working with. Okay, knit the 2 from the cable needle and then purl 1. Okay, sometimes if you are an experienced knitter, I like to cable knit without a cable needle. I insert my right needle into the back of the 3rd stitch. I'll take the left needle out of all 3. I'll just bring these to the front because I can put them back on the left needle, but we just change the order of the stitches, and now I put them all back on the left needle. I like to just manually do the cable cross and then knit across all of them. 2, 3, and then our purl. One more time, I stick the needle into the back of the third stitch, or the right needle into the back of the third stitch, take the left needle out of all 3 stitches, pick up the first 2 stitches from the front, and now here's where we're doing the cross. Here, that's the cable cross. The front 2 want to go in the front to the left. Then I put that last stitch back on the left needle, but now it's in the front because we just switched the order of them. Now we can knit across all 3. 2, 3, and you get the exact same thing whether you hold them on a third needle or you just switch them yourself. Either way is great and you will get the same results. Okay, let me finish this round and then we'll move on. Okay, I just finished that round 6. I did all the left leaning crosses all the way around. I could slip my marker, and I'm also going to just kind of cross off round, oh, sorry, that wasn't round 6, that was round 7, my bad. Okay, that was round 7 where we do all the cable knitting on round 7. All right, so we got 2, aside from the brim, we have 2 rows out of the way, rounds, and now we just need to do 8 through 10, repeat round 6. So that's going to be, we're working round 6 again 3 more times. So if you think about it, I was talking about a pattern set, and that's going to be rounds 6 through 10, and we're going to do that a couple times. But really, out of those five rounds per set, 4 of the rounds are exactly the same. And then it's round 7 where you have to do the cable crosses. So it's really not as complicated as it seems here. For most of this hat, you're working this round 6. So okay, here's where we're at. We've got 3 more rows of this set. And then it's going to be repeat round 6 for 8, 9, and 10. So that would be, now I'm on round 8, but really it's round 6. So it's knit 3, purl 1, knit 3, just like we did 2 rounds earlier. Knit 3, purl 1, and my paper's migrating in the background. 1, 2, 3, and then purl 1. Okay, so you kind of get the idea there. Knit 3, purl 1. I'm going to this is round 8. I'm going to finish up round 8. Then I'm going to do this 2 more times. I'm also going to do round 9 and 10. Okay, so work this round 3 times, and then that will wrap up round 10. Okay, I'm going to go finish mine. All right, now I just finished up my round 10, and I'm going to check it off here because I did 8, 9, 10. I like to just keep a little tally so I know that I was supposed to do it 3 times and just keep track of things because it's easy to lose your place. Just want to make sure you're on track. All right, so your hat should look like this, and basically because we did we did the round, or the brim, we did 1 normal round while we were switching the needle sizes. Then we did a cable cross, which is right here. And then we did 3 just normal rows. So the cable cross is kind of near the bottom, and then you just did these rounds up here. So it looks like this. So this was 1 completed, not including the brim, that's separate. This is 1 completed set of the pattern, and that would be rounds 6 through 10. All right, if you look, let's move on. If you look here, rounds 11 through 25, it really is just doing rounds, and that's these right here. It's really just doing rounds 6 through 10 a further 3 times. So we just did this once. We're going to do this 3 more times. So in the end, you'll actually have it done 4 times because we did 1. Now we need 3 more. So I'm going to start my little tally check marks over because we're going to do shaking the camera very badly. Okay, so it's this section here that we're going to do 3 more times. So we can, when we're not changing needles this time or anything, so let's just go again with starting over with round 6, which is coincidentally the same round that you just knit 3 times. So there's gonna be a lot of the knit 3, purl 1 in this hat. So simple enough, knit 3, purl 1, and this is round 6 again. 2, 3, purl. Purl. Okay, I guess I don't have to walk you through this entire thing. You don't have to watch me do it. Okay, I'm gonna finish up round 6. Then I'm gonna work round 7, which is this cabling row that we went through previously. If you need to look at the 2/1 LC written directions one more time, they're on the previous page under the abbreviations. You can just read through. Hopefully it'll tell you which 2 go in front, and then you knit the 3rd one, and then knit the 2 from the cable needle. Okay, so let's go. I'm gonna finish these 5 rounds. So let's do another chunk, and then I'll show you my progress. Okay, here is now that I've finished the next set of rounds 6 through 8, and we're starting to get a little more design looking. You can kind of see more of what's happening now that it's getting established with a little twist. And yeah, it looks like this. So we are halfway there, basically, because, well, we said we wanted this 3 more times after the initial one. So I just did another 1, and now we're going to need to do this group 2 more times. So let's do it. Let's do it again. All right, starting with round 6 one more time. Stitch marker ready, and then start doing round 6 of knit 3, purl 1. Okay, so work round 6 through 10 another time, and then I'll check back. Okay, I just finished the next repeat, so we had 2 out of the 3 finished. So actually 4 sections. You can see though, there's actually 3 so far, because we're actually going to have 4 total, but for here it's saying for 3 times. So all in all, we need to do it still 1 more time. So last time through rounds 6 through 10. Slip my marker. All right, we got 5 more rows to go until we go to the decreases. Okay, I'm going to do this section one last time. Okay. All right, and now I just finished the last repeat of the pattern set of rounds 6 through 10. So here's what we got so far. Now we can work on the decrease rounds. So we worked this. You can kind of see each set. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we did it 4 times because we did it once up here, and then the pattern says do it now 3 more times. Okay. That part's done. Now time for decreased rounds. And actually, I won't need this anymore because we're going to switch to double pointed needles. So grab your double pointed needles. Sleeves up. Grab the double pointed needles, and what we're gonna do is instead of using this fixed circular needle, we're going to be using 3 of these. The stitches will now be on 3 of the double pointed needles, and then the 4th one will be the one that we knit with. Okay, so I'll walk you through it. Now we're on decrease round, switch to US 15 DPNs. DPNs means double pointed needles. Round 26. So we're not going to be using this. Pick up a DPN, and we're going to be knitting with this. So this is knit 1, knit 2 together, purl 1. And on these rounds, we're now changing the stitch count because we have 48 here. So these little parentheses at the end of round 26, it now says 36 stitches. So when you finish this round, you'll now have 36 stitches instead of 48. Okay, knit 1, knit 2 together, purl 1. Knit 1, knit 2 together. We're going to grab 2 stitches, and then you get 1 stitch. Knit 2 together, purl 1. Okay, so we just decreased 1 stitch, but we're going to decrease a bunch more. Do it again. Knit 1, knit 2 together, purl 1. Knit 1, knit 2 together, purl 1. Okay, and I'm gonna say that's enough for this TPN. Let's grab another one and put some of these stitches on it. Or actually, you know what? I should do one more. scratch that. We can put another grouping on this first needle. Okay. And our stitch count is going to gradually keep getting smaller, so there will be less stitches on each double pointed needle. Okay. I started with the next needle. We're just doing the same exact thing. Knit two together, purl one, knit one, knit two together, purl one. Purl one, and how much do we have left? I think I can do one more. Let's do one more. Knit one, together, purl one. And then when we rotate the work, I'm gonna put the last of these stitches on this final and third DPN. So start with the third one, knit one, two together, purl one. Almost there. Also, for now, until we start decreasing some more, just make sure these don't fall off the needle. Even though I know they're kind of maxed out, it's all right. It'll be fine. Together, purl one. Okay, last little group here. Knit one, knit two, together, purl one. Okay, all the stitches are now on double pointed needles. I didn't drop any stitches. You can kind of like pinch them and shove them more towards the center. Like I said, they're a little crowded right now, but it'll be okay. And we eliminated the circular needle. Okay, so this is done. You can join the other circular needle from the brim. Okay, and now, like I said, when you finish round 26, it says we now have 36 stitches. Let's count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36. All right. And let's go on to the next round, round 27. One thing that we are going to note is these, we kind of got rid of the stitch marker. Okay. And so just know that you're going to work across 3 separate needles and then it's the end of the round. I just kind of keep that in mind. Like, if you really wanted to, because this is between these 2 needles right here, this is the change of rounds. This is the end and the start. If you really want to, I have a removable stitch marker here. You can kind of just place this anywhere near there. So that'll tell you, I didn't put this in the pattern, but this will be like, okay, when you get this, you can tell that this area, this is the end of the round. Okay, so not if you get to here, you'll be like, nope, keep going. And you see that stitch marker in this area, this is between these 2 needles are the change of rounds. Okay. And now when we knit, we have a 4th DPN that we're going to be knitting with. So every time you knit across 1 DPN, this will actually be in place of here. And then the current DPN will come out and then you use that current one to then start the next round. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Let's work through it. Round 27. Oh, this is the last and final cable round. This is 1/1 LC. And let's see. Oh, I'm using I actually have a 5th DPN I'll use as my cable needle. 1/1 LC. This is super similar to the 2/2 LC, except only 1 stitch is going. This is only worked over 2 stitches instead of 3, and only 1 stitch is going in the front of the work instead of 2. So 1/1 LC says take the first stitch, drop to the front of your work. Okay, and don't let it fall off, because when there's only 1 stitch, it's kind of loose, but just make sure that's kind of hanging out there. And then we're still using an extra DPN. Pretend this is the cable needle right here, and this is the 4th DPN. Okay. 1 stitch held to the front of your work, knit the next stitch from the left needle. Okay, we're doing this just as we normally would. It's just on double point needles this time. Okay, and now knit the stitch from the cable needle. All right, 2 stitches worked. We have a left leaning twist here, cable cross, and purl 1. Okay, now we got to do that again. LC. Take the first stitch. Oopsie, see what I mean? It's kind of loose. Take the first stitch and jump to the front of your work. Knit the next stitch from the left needle. Knit the stitch from the cable needle. Okay. And purl. Okay, one more time. Chop the first stitch to the front of your work. Knit the left stitch. Knit the first stitch on the left needle. Knit the stitch from the cable needle. And purl, which, oh, I dropped that one. It's back there somewhere. And purl. Okay, I picked it up real quick. Okay, I'll just finish. Okay, you can work through this round at your own pace along with me. I'm just gonna finish up here, or you can watch how I switch the needles at the end. I'm gonna do my little quick method here, but by all means, continue to use the cable needle. I'm just gonna try to speed this up a little bit for demonstration's sake. Okay, also here's what I wanna show you. I got to the end here, so now this is the extra needle. Instead, we rotate our work, and I use this one to knit with the stitches in the next DPN. Okay, all these left-leaning cables. Yeah, and you can pause it too if you want to take more time on this round. Or you can skip to the end if you've already finished yours. And for this round, we're on round 27, it still says 36 stitches for the stitch count at the end. That is because we are not decreasing right now. We did previously when we were doing those knit 2 togethers, but for this one, we're just doing small cable crosses, but we're not decreasing anything. So after this round, we'll still have 36 stitches. And if you look at the pattern, you'll notice that the stitch count stays the same every other round, because we're only decreasing on every other round. And then the rounds in between the decrease rounds are just going to be the same stitch count. That way, and this is how I like to write patterns, that way it's a nice gradual, smooth decrease at the top. When I like to alternate rounds for decreasing, but you could decrease every round. You could skip 2 rounds. Just depends on what you want your hat to look like. Okay, that was the end of round 27 with the 1/1 LC, and honestly, that was the last hard round. They just because the cable crosses take a little extra time. The rest should go pretty quick. All right, round 28. Knit 2 together, purl 1. So clearly we are decreasing again on this round. And now it'll make these DPNs less crowded. Okay, I'm knitting 2 together, purl 1. Knit 2 together, purl 1. Oops, some more yarn here. Purl 1. Okay, that was needle 1. 2 more needles to go. And we're getting rid of stitches here. Knit 2 together, purl 1. Excuse me. See, and then knit 2 together, I take 2 stitches. Okay, last needle, rotate the work one more time. Together, purl 1, we're almost there. Last one. Okay, and at the end of round 28, it says we should have 24 stitches. Let's see. 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. Perfect. And now we only have 2 more rows to go on this pattern, and then we can tie it off. Okay, this is now a non-decrease round, round 29. And we are just doing knit 1, purl 1 all the way around. Purl 1. Okay, rotate. Oops, come on, I'm missing the wrap here. Okay, last DPN for this round. Knit 1, knit 1, purl 1. Okay, last round, final one, and this is the final decrease rounds. We're gonna knit 2 together for every stitch. So basically we're gonna cut our stitch count in half. We just ended on a row that had 24 stitches. So if we are knitting 2 together on every pair of stitches, it'll bring us down to 12 stitches. So I already got 4, just get through this. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, we are done. Here, enjoy your hat. No, just kidding. All right, the final round is completed. I guess I can remove this little marker. And again, the marker was totally optional. You can also just remember where your place is. Either way. Okay, no more knitting. We are done with this. Let's see. Cut the yarn from the ball and use a tapestry needle to weave the working yarn through the remaining 12 stitches. Okay, we got 12 stitches left, but obviously we don't want them to stay on the needle. So, excuse me. I got my little scissors. Let's cut the yarn. You don't leave a little bit of a tail, not too crazy. Just kind of did it like that, like a foot long would be fine. Take that yarn and weave it through your tapestry needle. Okay. I like to bend it in half over the needle and pinch it real good, and then when it's in half, then it's easier to slide through. Okay. So we're gonna kind of weave this through each stitch in the same clockwise direction. So the yarn is coming off of this stitch, so we want to go to the next one. Just like you'd begin knitting, we're going to the next needle. I will do this one by one. You just kind of put the needle through the stitch and take it off the knitting needle. Okay, so that needle's off, and you can pull this all the way through. Let's get to the next stitch and going in order. Because we want to get them off the double pointed needles. Flip your work, do the final 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and pull it tight. We wove this through all 12 stitches at the top. Now take that end and pull it tight. I got my hand in the center. Pull it tight, 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 tight. Don't break the yarn. Just pull it tight enough so it's closed as best you can. Okay, and then I put my hand through the top, and I'm going to, because we now want to take this end and we want to weave it onto the inside of the hat. So I'm just going, wherever that yarn's coming out, just pick a spot and poke it through to the back, and I can feel the needle with my other hand here and pull it through. Okay, now let's flip our work inside out. And I, you know, whoever, depending on who you talk to about weaving in ends, it's like everyone has their own method. And I know a lot of people say don't ever do knots when knitting. Like, I put a knot at the top of my hats. You can give this one last pull too, because you don't want like a large circle there at the top. Just try to get it to close. Okay, so this is the inside of the hat. I am going to, and just kind of look around. There's a bunch of like, do you see this kind of like outer circle here of like the back of the last round of stitches? I'm just gonna find one of those loops and I'm gonna tie a knot. So I put the needle through, and then I'll take the base of the yarn where it's attached, wrap it around, and then it's kind of like sock puppet here, but I'm gonna pinch it with my hand, that's not holding the needle, and pull it tight. So now you can have like a tight little knot there. And then I'm going to continue to then just kind of hide this. You can just pick little strands of that last row of stitches and kind of go in and out. We'll just go, you know, actually I'll backtrack too, because that was the end of the round. This is not an exact science, just kind of weave it in and out of a few. Oops. There you go. See, like up, and then the next one I'll go down. All right, and that's fine. Just do it like 5 times. So the yarn's all in there. It's knotted over here, and then I wove it in a couple times. All right, let's be done with the tapestry needle, and then we can cut that tail right at the, make sure you're only cutting the tail and not the yarn that's in the stitches. There, just so that tail is all secure in there. That's why I like the little knot, just because also it helps keep this like closure tight, because especially with thick yarn, that closure is gonna wanna kind of undo or widen again. Okay, that's the top of the hat. So if we flip it right side out, it looks like that. That's it. Oh, okay, it might open up a little bit. That's okay, because you know what? I'm gonna put a pom-pom on top of this, so I guess it doesn't have to be perfect if you're using a pom-pom. All right, lastly though, we're not done because we still have this little cast on tail. Okay, that would be, it's coming out of here. Let me show you a little trick that I like to weave in for all of my hat brims. Obviously, this is the outside. We don't want to weave in the front. We want to weave in on the inside. So I'm going to find, just kind of bring the yarn to the back, and we're going to weave it into one of these little knit columns. And I say knit because these are knit stitches. This is the reverse of a purl stitch. A reverse of a purl on the other side of a purl stitch is a knit, and vice versa. They like mirror each other. So this little column that has these like the V's, we're gonna go, actually, okay, bear with me. I'm gonna turn this a little bit. There we go. All right, that's better. Actually, I'm gonna turn it into this work. So I'm gonna, all these little, this right side here, I'm gonna take my needle up from beneath and wrap it through, kind of like around, go to the right and then to the center, right to the center. See, and it's kind of like spiraled around your tapestry needle now. Now you can pull it all the way through. Okay, and then do it on the mirror side of that same stitch, but going downwards. And you kind of spiral through those same stitches, the other legs of those same brim stitches. And again, it's kind of like spiraled around the tapestry needle. Pull it through. Okay, and then give it a little stretch and a little wiggle, and make sure, and this tail is not gonna go anywhere, and you don't need to do a knot on this one. Okay, let's trim it. All right, that's all tucked in there. See, and it's hidden, you can't even tell from the outside. Okay, that's it on the hat. All right, we've just completed the Everyday Cable Beanie. It's a cozy cozy, stretchy, cable knit beanie. Here's my original one. And I think I'm gonna find a pom-pom for this one too, maybe like a lighter tan or no pom-pom at all. Another thing, if you have a pom-pom maker at home, this is how much yarn I had left on the skein. So there's plenty of yarn here to make a matching like yarn pom too, which would be super cute. Or if you're looking for faux fur poms, I do make all mine. I have a ton of colors on my yarn shop website. They're all ready to ship. It's threebirdsyarnstudio.com, and I have a bunch of faux fur poms that are perfect for the hats. Okay, I think that I'm gonna wrap it up then. That covers everything. Be sure to check if you want extra links, like on the if you want an extra link on like the cast on and everything. I do have separate videos on my Lizzie Knits YouTube channel. Okay, thank you so much for joining along, and enjoy your new project. Bye.